Super excited for this next session where we're going to be talking about reimagining the workplace and moving from employer choice to employee choice. Such a fascinating topic. We're all going through it right now. And to talk about this, I'm joined by 4 incredible leaders. So I have Helen Brown, Chief HR Officer, SLR Consulting, Deepak Kumar, Chief HR Officer at Sidel, Tara Kearns, Chief People Officer at Clanwilliam Group, and Bart Bambost, Chief HR Officer at Nipro Corporation. Welcome, everyone. How are you all?
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Good. Nice to be here.
It's always that moment where when you say, how is everyone on the virtual call, and everyone's like, do I say it first? Yeah.
Very excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, let's, I think we had a great chat before we went live, and I think it'd be great for everyone, as Bart mentioned beforehand, to talk about where we are right now in terms of like, are we working from home still, or do we have a blended approach? It'd be great just to set the context. So we'll start with yourself, Bart.
Well, we are in the medical devices, so that means our production units always stayed up and running, and that was quite a challenge. Our sales offices, however, had a lockdown. Currently, we are gradually open, but as the situation is worsening in Europe, we might change that again pretty soon.
Unfortunately, if for those that are listening outside of Europe, we're kind of in a position where we're kind of slowly going back the opposite direction, unfortunately, as well. What about yourself, Tara?
Yeah, so we're similar. We have 17 different offices, and the majority of the offices are working from home. Similarly, as the restrictions are increasing, we have people staying at home. We have one office in Christchurch who are fully back. So New Zealand, as you may know, is in level 1. So they're fully back. They have no restrictions, no distancing required. So we're looking at them and can't wait till we're in the same boat. But for the moment, the majority of us are at home.
Everyone's looking at New Zealand, aren't they? It's like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I think they have a clearly aligned leadership in their country, which also helps, but we won't get into that as well. What about you, Helen?
Yeah, so we've all of our offices are open again, but it's very much on personal choice. We're not sort of telling people they can or can't or must do anything. Some people are desperate to get back to work. Some people prefer to be working from home, and it's working well for them. We've been lucky; most of our people have been able to work in a remote fashion all the way through. So, I think it's individual choice, and it's probably going to stay that way. It would be my guess going forward.
Yeah, Deepak.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Like Bart, we are also an industrial and manufacturing company. Sidel is into liquid food packaging, and in most of the countries we were rated or termed by the government as part of the essential services. So production units, they kept working on almost all the time, even during the tough lockdown period. But today we are slowly moving to partially working from home, and we have a policy now, depending on which region you are in, 25% to 40 or 60%. Like in China, we have 75% back. So today I'm working from office because it's my day for working from office, because we have to give our names and preferences to local site management, and they decide whether you can work for which are the days you can work, because at any given day we do not want to be more than 40%, given which region the region of Strasbourg, Alsace is not in the red zone yet. So this is the reality of our world.
I think, and for us, by the way, even though we're a small business, we're doing like 2 days in the office and then 3 days from home. That seems to work, the blend. And by the way, it's a choice. So I think Helen made a great point. We're in, again, the title of this episode, employer choice to employee choice. I think that's now the new reality that we're realizing, that everyone has different circumstances. And a lot of my single friends that live at home on their own, they want to be in the office. And whereas myself, I have a young daughter. I have a different scenario, so I do want to be at home certain days a week. So I think this is where we are now. Oh, I just realized you got a fire alarm. It's just planned, but you guys carry on talking whilst I mute myself.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, Helen, about choice.
Now. There you go.
That's good. Just about choice.
Actually, and the alarm went off.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's just interesting what Helen said about choice, and that's true, because actually, all of our offices are technically open, but the choice is the majority of people want to stay at home. And, so people can go in if they want to, but the majority of people are just feeling like they want to be at home for the moment. So it's interesting even looking at that kind of trend. And then, that's the whole topic of today. So really interested to hear what everyone else's thoughts are.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that's striking us is obviously this has been a huge experiment that we've kind of all been forced into globally, and I think it'll have far-reaching consequences. So, for example, we're an environmental consultancy. It's very difficult to see how we would ever get ourselves into a position where we were mandating people sitting in traffic queues to get to a particular office or a particular location if they don't need to be there. Going forwards, it just doesn't seem to be aligned with our company, and it doesn't seem to be aligned with where the world's going to. So I think this is going to be way outside of just HR and how employers are things. So.
But Helen, would you be bringing any policy on that, or any thought on this? Even if suppose, let's imagine in January we are out of this crisis. Let's hope so. And would you be having any idea, or do already planning something like that?
Well, I'm fortunate in that I used to work for a very big company that was very forward thinking on all of this, and so probably as early as 20 years ago they were starting to move people to what were described as mobile workers. So they set everybody up to be safe, to work in a mobile fashion, and then essentially it doesn't matter where you are, you go to where it makes most sense to be. And in consulting that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of our people are out with clients or on site a lot. So what we will probably do, we haven't got there yet, but what we will probably do is move more formally to setting people up as mobile workers, and then really where their location is becomes less relevant. But that's easier said than done, as you know.
Yeah. Deepak, talk about how you're doing it, because I know you've put an actual policy in place already around this. So explain to everyone how you what you've done and the way you've gone about it, because I think it's super interesting.
Now, I think because Helen's experience is different, because she has worked in some of those very forward-looking and advanced countries. But as I come from a manufacturing company, we used to have a policy in place, and it was working from home. It was 1 day per week, and there was lots of steps needed for the improvement from the manager, then HR, then we will see how many years you have there. So suddenly in the month of June and July, we sat together, my HR team. He said, it doesn't make any sense. I think we have to change the policy. And probably we were optimistic. We were thinking people are gradually returning to work. It's the right time to do it. And then we did a survey for the employees, and it was an interesting survey. If I get a chance, I will share some of the findings. And it told us the employees have different needs, and they value the time and the office space or the working from home differently. So then we came, exactly is the topic of the day, is a employee's choice. What we would like to do. So what we did is that we created a policy which is now in place, approved. It's a global guideline, and each country works based on that, and they talk to their union or employee representative, as is the reality of the world. So you can work maximum up to 10 days from your home. And we have defined home to be any place, your mother's place, your beach house, your partner's home, or anywhere, as long as it is in the same country for the reason of the taxation and for employees. So this is the policy that we created, and everybody welcomed it, union welcomed it, and this is through which we have a Yammer, the internet site, and then employees have been excited. But though we have not seen its actual working, because we again went back to 40% working, 25% working, but we have a policy in place.
I think something you didn't mention there, Deepak, what I want to highlight is the fact that you removed all of the layers of decision making out of that, and you said if we're going to do this, we need to trust our employees. This is an important part. And you said that we're going to leave it to the line manager and that employee to have those conversations, and we're going to trust them to do that. Whereas beforehand, you mentioned you had all these layers of decision. My wife's company has a similar thing where they have to go to a council. How crazy is that? Where there's like 5 people in front of you, and you have to explain why you need to work from home. And
Yes.
I thought that was crazy. They've changed it now, just to be clear. But it's about trust, right? You don't need a council of people to decide whether you can trust someone to work from home. And I love the fact that you and the team made that bold decision, Deepak, to say, we're leaving it in your hands. We trust you. And yeah, I think that was a huge point.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. That was really the highlight of the policy. It's not HR or it's not those steps in the process that will be determined. It's between employee and the manager. If they both agree, it's up to them to decide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there we go. What about yourself, Bart? Have you put anything formal in place at the moment?
Yes, we have the choice of people, because we recommend that people come in once a week, a minimum, some weeks twice, because what we also found out that people really miss social contact. Yeah. Because Helen referred to the experiment, we must be aware the experiment is ongoing. And I'm in a lot of seminars, people come already to a lot of conclusions while the experiment is still ongoing. And what I personally learned is that the aspect of missing social contact was absolutely underestimated a few months ago. And now also personally, we found out that people said, well, I really miss it. I need that contact also for creativity reasons, for a good strategic meeting. I prefer to be around physically with the team. So therefore, we carefully try to manage, and we don't work with policies, but we give guidelines. And we say to people, individual work you can do from home, but teamwork, creativity sessions, strategic work, team alignment, we give you the office. And there the manager has to coordinate that and has to pick that up. But for the sake of fairness, the minimum framework is for us at this moment of time, minimum 1 day in the week.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that minimum's to make sure that at least everyone's going to be there to collaborate on that day, right? You have to control it to some extent, otherwise people.
The framework, because I don't like the word control, but still I believe that people very much appreciate clear frameworks, because absolutely self-steering, well, depending on the business you are in, but I'm not an absolute fan of 100% self-steering. What I personally strongly believe in is give people clear frameworks. Within these borders, they have the autonomy and the freedom to act like they want. And that is, in my opinion, the best of both worlds. So I'm very curious on the conclusions of this experiment, maybe in 1 year from now.
I think it's going to be an ongoing experiment for longer than a year.
I think so.
I think you're on a really good point, Bart, because in this organisation that I know pretty well, that has been doing this for a very long time, one of the findings actually was that some individuals found it very, very stressful to be working from home 100% of the time, and it wasn't expected when they started it. So what they found for most people, 2 or 3 days a week in the office, with the flexibility to decide when that is, and what they do with the other days is pretty optimum. But it also widely varies between, generally speaking, extroverts prefer time in the office. Some of your teams will be more extrovert by nature of the sort of work they do than others, and introverts, are more comfortable with being remote. But it's very personalised. I mean, it's an interesting part of this whole conversation is the personalisation aspect of it, and no one size fits all for everybody.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, if I want a strategic meeting, I need the input of both the introverts and the extroverts. So I have to create a framework and a setting where that is possible, obviously, as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That also leads us to the point of what does the workplace look like? Because if it's now moving from traditional desks to collaborative spaces, we need to rethink what that looks like. And I'd be interested to understand what steps that you've taken or what discussions you've had internally around your own organizations and the workspace you have.
Yeah, so I think from our perspective, we've definitely looked at, I think I mentioned we have 17 different offices, and we're looking at leases. So we're looking at break clauses and when we can look to reduce those, because I think as things move forward, we do need to reshape what the office space is going to look like and change it from just plain desk. I mean, we spoke before the show about really personalizing the office space, making it fun. And I think part of this challenge is when we get into next year and things get a bit more calmer, that we have to really reignite the passion for the office and remind our teams why it's great to be in the office, remind people that the energy is there and you actually feel great when you do see your colleagues. I think when we talk about introverts and extroverts, it's really easy for the introverts to kind of go, actually, no, this is perfect, this is fine, and maybe I don't want to go back. So I think part of this, when we're planning what the office space looks like and how we're bringing people back, it's really igniting the passion for the office and reminding everyone why it's great and all the great things, the collaboration, the ideas, the friendships, that sense of community that the office brings, that I think through all of these conversations, it's really easy to forget that. So we're hoping to revamp some of the offices if we're reducing some of the office space, but try and make it a bit more fun. And as we said earlier, use it for collaboration. So it's not, you're not going just to sit at a desk, you're going with a big giant whiteboard to get ideas and just to sit, couches, chat, that kind of thing. I think that's the approach we'll take. But again, as we said as well, you know, it's easier said than done. So it will take time, but definitely just to reignite that sense of fun, I think is really important to get people back on that journey to come back into the office.
Deepak, maybe you want to talk about what you shared before we went live, because I said you said you and your team were talking about breaking your workspaces into 4 sections.
Yeah.
You want to jump in on that?
Yeah, no, exactly, because what we have, this was an idea that we have been thinking, and this is what COVID has done something, because it makes it very quick. Some of the actions that we have been thinking for weeks or months and sometimes years, it makes it quickly to make it very quick for us to make it happen. And one of them has been, we have just launched a project, and the project is that it is exactly to your question, but in a physical terms, how does a future workplace look like? Future workplace may not look like cubicles and the rooms and other. Future workplace would look like, as even Bart and Tara has said, this is a collaborative space where people can be very easygoing. There will be because I've seen some of the pictures that our team is designing. We have launched a project about 2 weeks ago. There will be collaborative place. People can come and have a coffee machine. They can talk and they can work as well. If they need to have one-to-one chat, they can do one-to-one chat. And there will be quiet place. Quiet place will be, people will only be working with their computers, and there will be no set desk. There will be no table for each one with their names, and it's going to be a big change management. Remember, we have been a very traditional manufacturing company and engineering companies with a very advanced technology. And third part will be that it will be only the meeting rooms where you can have meeting rooms with the colleagues, and it's a closed door. And then there will be a space where you can do only phone meeting, a small room. So the same office space can be regenerated into a very interesting work area. One will look like a cafe, the collaborative space. Another would look like an office. Another space would look like your home, very small meeting room with a phone, headset of the phone, and you cannot speak louder at this. And this, we are investing in this process because we also see people will have a different work needs. And slowly you will see that the definition of the workplace will change. And this we have experimented, because I used to work with a previous company, Tetra Pak. They already experimented with it. Now we are bringing it in Sidel. And we also believe that we'll be able to create more energy and what Tara has been talking about, a more collaboration within the same workplace, but it will not look like a normal office.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are some of the big challenges? That all sounds great. I'm sure everyone listening is like, this sounds amazing. But in reality, there's a lot of processes, systems. There's so much need to, behaviors, learned behaviors and way people work for so long. What do you foresee to being, or are, because you're kind of on this journey, are the biggest challenges that you're all seeing in making this shift?
Well, in my opinion, I think we have to understand that this is a transition. And a transition, you have to take small steps, and it takes time. You cannot rush it because you have to convince people, you have to find a new modus vivendi. And for some companies, depending also on the type of business you are in, it goes faster than the other. But I think we all believe that that is the future, and we have to work towards that future. But I think we also have to understand that it takes time. And if you understand that it is a transition that takes time, you will do the right thing, I believe. And you will involve people as well. Because otherwise we speak about employee choice. Well, that will require some involvement. And involvement always takes more time than a central decision by the employer.
Good point.
And can I add to one point, because which I see, in fact, I see the two challenges, and they have been referred to by Helen as well, because now I talk about the survey that we did in the month of June, when we were thinking that things are becoming normal. And we had about 12 questions. It was a very quick survey done on the through our intranet site. And there was a question, the first question was, how safe do you feel to come back to work? And to our surprise, there were three options. Number one, that I feel absolutely safe and I'm really looking forward to come back to work. Second one was, no, I can't say I feel neither excited nor I feel worried to come back to work. And third one is, because now I'm changing the language, but it was, the essence was same. No, I do not feel safe. I do not feel safe at all to come back to work. And you would be surprised that it was a one-third distribution of the response. So there are people who would like to come to the workplace, and there are people who would like to stay at home. And this I believe is going to be one of the challenges, because if we are trying to make a policy and we make it policy for everyone, no, you have to be like this. So I think this is one thing I feel is going to be a challenge. And second one is that when you're talking about the workplace, in the future workplace with this, which we are starting, and will slowly go to all our major sites, some people love the certainty of their desk. And this certainty, or this place, this is my place, this is where my chair used to be, I think this will not be there. So it may be a little bit not easy for some of the people. So this is the second one I see, because some people would love to keep continuing the way they have seen the work to be. And so this, I believe, is going to be the second challenge.
Are you saying, Deepak, that I have to get rid of my shelves? Is that what you're saying? I can't have them.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah. No comment.
For you, we will make an exception.
We'll make an exception.
Okay.
Yeah. What about... Go for it.
Sorry, no, I was going to say, I think the whole thing as well is change management, is managing that change, because like everybody has gone through such immense change. People have gotten used to being at home, and now it's bringing in another change and another change workspace. So I think everything that Deepak, you said, yeah, it's bringing the change, or managing that change and helping people with that is going to be one of the bigger challenges, because when we talk about, again, the introverts, the extroverts, there is no one size fits all. Helen, you mentioned that as well. So it is that change management process and helping our managers and our line managers and everybody in the organization to accept yet another change, that with everything that's happening at the moment, we're more susceptible to it. So I think that for me is just that change, bringing everyone on the journey that, yes, things are going to be different, but it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would say there's a piece about personalisation, and I really am a great advocate of personalisation for employees and that consumer experience for employees. But there's also a balance. So one of our key cultural pieces at SLR is be yourself, but we point out to people that there's a balance, so you have to enable everybody else to be themselves as well. So one of the sort of things I think we have to think through in a different way, for example, is mentoring the more junior members of staff who might have got a lot of informal mentoring because they just happen to be in the same location as people. And even if you're somebody who just loves being at home on your own, if you're one of the senior technical people, you have a responsibility to those more junior staff to help them and bring them on. And so it's going to be a balance. It's going to be quite an interesting conversation about where those balances are struck. and where the balance is struck for a particular individual.
I was going to ask, do you have any systems and tools in place to track how each, because obviously personalization on scale is very difficult, right? Have you, either of you looked or have in place any particular tools, technologies that's allowing you to personalize on scale, but then be able to track productivity or track who's going to be in today working? Is that something you're still exploring? I know it's kind of early days into this, but I'm sure that's something even as a small business, that's something I really struggled with early on, is to kind of measured productivity in the team. We didn't have the right technology, tools, processes in place to do that.
Well, again, because working in consulting rather than manufacturing, because the nature of our business is such that we're monitoring people's productivity quite carefully anyway. So, and having literally just gone live with our new global HR system this week, I mean, I'll answer that question in a few weeks' time.
You'll let me know. Yeah. Well, what about this? Because Tara, because obviously a lot of companies are tracking productivity, but many of them are missing sort of tracking employee engagement and well-being to better understand the employee experience. Could you share some examples of what's been effective in the team?
Yeah, of course. So there's obviously a huge importance in tracking productivity, KPIs, measuring quality and quantity of outputs that are, impact on the business, productivity and growth. When we talk about productivity, I think it really goes hand in hand with engagement and well-being. I think if you don't have engagement and well-being right, then you're going to see that in your productivity. So throughout the whole of the last year, since March, since all of this happened, we actually found that productivity didn't really drop. Our products and services deliver healthcare professionals to deliver safer, more efficient healthcare to patients and doctors and GPs and pharmacists. So I think everybody was working to that mission. We didn't see any drop in productivity. We were able to get people working from home really quickly. And people, I think everyone can probably relate to this, that the lines kind of blur between home working and, when you're working from home, like the day kind of molds into one. So we didn't have a problem with productivity. That was all good. But I think we did have a focus on engagement and making sure that people were actually well at home, given that everything that had happened, and just to monitor that. So we did a couple of things. We did things like making sure people have your videos on. We did, step challenges. So, everybody had to give their steps at the end of the week, all those things to try and keep well-being up, keep people connected. But we also did, which actually went down really well, was a good news stories newsletter. So at the end of every week, we shared good news stories from around the world, because I think people are so consumed with the negative news. So we picked stories in all our jurisdictions. So like random stories like that story of Captain Moore in the UK who raised like millions for the NHS, all those different kind of feel-good stories, to share them on a Friday to try and keep people feeling well. But the main thing about tracking employee engagement, and Deepak, you've mentioned it, is a survey. So survey, listen to your teams. We issued a survey, I think it was early May, again, thinking that we were going to come back soon, that normality would resume back kind of relatively quickly after that, which it obviously hasn't. But we surveyed things like connectivity, accessibility to tools and resources, and productivity, and what they'd want for when people come back to the office. And interestingly, first of all, we got the most response rate we've ever got in any engagement survey ever. So that kind of was a real sign, okay, people really want to be heard here. And we then, the most fascinating thing for us was when we asked everybody, what's most important to you in your role? Is it culture? Is it your salary? Is it career progression? Or is it flexible working? And the majority of people picked flexible working. So that is the most important thing for our people at the moment. So that's a really easy win. So when we think of engagement, like listening to our people and giving them something they've asked for, if it's possible, is like the best thing you can do. It's a really good win. So like Bart and Deepak, we've issued for some of the businesses flexible working policies when things calm down, when things get back to normal, that we will have people 2 days at home, 3 days in the office. Our offices in Auckland are testing this out and trialing this out at the moment, but it's really great to be able to implement something to say the employee choice is obviously to have flexible working, and now we're able to implement that. So that's really, really good. And then in terms of productivity, monitoring productivity, we use kind of KPIs. We don't have any tracking software yet. So I'd be really interested to hear what people's thoughts are, because it's definitely, I suppose, a worry, you know, for next year or when things normalize and we have this kind of flexible policy where people are at home. Yes, we're trusting everybody. We start with trust, but how are we verifying it? So how am I verifying it to my CEO that, no, I know everybody's working at 100% at home, whereas in the office you can see it and you know it. So I suppose that's where we're figuring it out at the moment, is how are we going to verify that next year without implementing any morale crashing, you know, monitoring policy that'll really do damage for all the great engagement things we've done. How are we going to do that in the future? So that's what we're trying to work through at the moment to figure out for next year, hopefully early next year when things normalize.
I think that's great work, Tara. Congrats to you and the team and the steps you've taken so far on that. And at the end point you made, and I have a few friends that are already part of companies that have tracking software on their computer, and after a certain amount of time it times out, so it knows you're not there. And I can only tell you how demoralized and disconnected they are from their businesses. And I'm like, we had such an opportunity. You had such an opportunity as organizations to trust your employees and bring them on the journey, right, and engage them. And then the first thing you said, let's invest in a piece of software which tracks how long people are at their computer for, and if they're not there for over half an hour, it logs them out, and they have to come back and quickly log on. I was like, because let's be honest, for me that wouldn't work, because my wife and we have a daughter at home. There might be a few hours where I need to step away. I'll come back and deliver on my. You should be measuring the output, not the amount of time I'm at a computer. As well. So I really hope organizations take a moment to get this right and don't make those mistakes. Go on, Bart.
Yeah, Chris, I think this is really an interesting point. And there, I think HR or the responsible for people plays a crucial role, because I think in the end, it's always end-to-end. But if and the software tracking business is really a booming business these days. So let's do a reality check. And let's come really with a solid plan, because I think productivity and well-being and a good employee experience is crucial. But we will have to put some parameters in place to do that. And personally at Nipro, we put a responsibility on the productivity and the output fully on the manager. Yeah, I personally believe this is not an HR job. Because if you make it an HR job, you can only do this type of tracking or monitoring. There is no other way.
That makes sense.
Only the manager is able to evaluate and to support and to correct if things are not going as they should go on the productivity level. And there the empowerment plays, and also the responsibility. Because I believe as well that in this type of crisis and moving forward, strong leaders will stand up and weak leaders will become very visible.
I think that's a fantastic point you made there, Bart. And I think that is definitely the approach that I'm seeing many companies take. And I personally think that's the right approach to put that on our manager. Because you're right, if it is on HR, they have no choice but to go with a particular software like that. Because how do you manage that otherwise? It doesn't work, right? I want to make sure we don't gloss over something, we don't forget, because there are many people and in many of your organizations that can't work from home. And blue collar workers or people that they have to be at a location. And Deepak, I'd love to hear for you to share how you're addressing this in your organization, because you put some very interesting policies and processes and reward systems in place for those workers in the manufacturing environment to make sure they feel included, and there's not a one rule for some, one for the other, and you kind of get a disconnected. They may disconnect from that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And during the peak of the COVID time, as Bart said, our industry is also was rated as the essential services, because we were in the liquid food packaging, water, juices, milk. So we kept our production unit running. And during that time, because it was the countries, many of the countries were completely locked down, but our factories were running. And in order to show the appreciation, there are a few things that we did, because of course that we had a consultation with our employee representative, and we had what we call COVID reward for those people who were traveling to the customer place, or those who were coming to work. But we made sure, and we could give this confidence to our people, that our workplace and their transportation to the work is as safe, if not more, as homes that they are staying, because we took very many precautions, and HR and the site management worked overtime, or health and safety department worked overtime to make sure that our canteen run, but in a segregated form. So this was the one thing that we did. Second was, of course, I've talked about the COVID reward during that period. But we also did one thing, because it was essential, and some of our customers wanted to continue to run their installation, commissioning, and problem in the machine, services, intervention. And so what we did through a CEO and many of the employees and customer, we prepared a video for those people who were working during that time and coming to the workplace, a thank you video, because this was our way of saying thank you to them, because it kept our business and our customers' business running, and also public getting the food items they wanted. And this is some of the activities that we did. But we also know that some of the manufacturing activities cannot be done from home. Some of the customer intervention, we have to travel that, even if we bring the new technology of working with those glasses, which we are bringing also, by the way, to reduce
virtual reality. Working virtual reality in manufacturing. Okay.
Yes, working virtually when it comes to the service intervention at customer place. So this is something that we are aware. And so when we talk about the flexibility, we talk about the white collar jobs, but for blue collar, we are doing everything else to make sure that they also feel that we are taking care of having the workplace safe, their efforts rewarded, and this is what we would like to see. But I would love to hear any suggestion if someone else doing. If Bart, because you come from manufacturing, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we also are a critical business. So, and that also shows people feel very proud, at least in our company, to make that sustainable and to make that running. So that is the personal proudness of people you can tap into. And let's not forget, it's not only blue-collar workers, also doctors, for example, cannot work from home. They also work on location. So in the end, it's your purpose in your work, it's your proudness in your work that we can tap into it. And I very much resonate with Deepak's comment on safety. Yeah, what we also put as a number one is to create that safe environment, because I can feel proud to keep this business, this critical business running, but I must feel safe. And then if things happen, you can also offer to blue-collar workers flexibility. Yeah, so we offered, in case they had contamination in their family, we offer them to change shift or these type of elements. So if they feel that you take care, that is in the end the bottom line. Yeah, I think they experience that very much as well as flexibility. But indeed, there are different levels of flexibility, different kinds of flexibility, depending on the job you are in. But taking care and giving that feeling of taking care, I think is really crucial. Yeah. And if I still may... yes. What we also did is we started up Radio Nipro, because we were thinking, how can we make a connection with the people working from home and all our operators in the factory? And so what we did is we broadcasted live radio for 2 hours. That was broadcasted all through all our regions in the US, in India, in Russia, across Europe and Africa. And what people very much like in our Indian workers in the factory, they stayed late in the evening in the factory on purpose not to miss the live radio, where also employees were interviewed, where best stories were shared. And if you create that common feeling, then people don't care about his flexibility is different than mine, because they feel part of a bigger thing. And that is basically what we try to do. And it's not always successful, to be very clear. But yeah, that's our aim. And that does a lot, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Love that idea, Bart. I was actually, throughout this, I was saying to many companies, you just start a podcast or as a great way to communicate across regions, countries, where everyone can come around. Then the fact that you started the radio show, I think, is a great idea. Just out of curiosity, did you make that just internal, or did you also make that external for your investors, your customers?
No, internal but live. We were the first to do that live, because a lot of companies, they pre-record it. It's all very safe, with a nice speech. And but we broadcasted live with live interventions from America, from Japan, from India, from employees. And also the employees were able to choose the music. So you can imagine how much energy that created. And that refers, I like the phrase Linda Gretton, I think, put it in her book, Future of Work, is create a hotspot. And the hotspot is where the energy is high. And if we can create that, these type of things where we can really boost the energy, we have, and we keep doing it now. Lockdown or no lockdown, we will keep doing it. We do it 3-4 times a year. End of year, no parties, but we will broadcast Nipro live radio. That's for sure.
I
love that idea.
I love it.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And it's such a cost. Like, it doesn't cost a lot of money, right, to do
something.
No,
it goes over the internet.
Exactly.
So, it's 2,000 euro if you, because the most expensive thing is, of course, you want a decent presenter, let's say, somebody who does the interviews.
Who does that? Who does that? But is it someone in the team, or you brought?
No, it's external. It's an external. It's also nice because then they feel also even more excited about it, because it's like a semi-professional interviewer. So it gives another buzz than the HR manager with his fancy mic who is doing an interview.
Am I the only one that wants to, in the comment section, am I the only one that wants to listen to Nipro Radio? Oh, I'm in. Where do I submit my song?
We will send you the link for the 11th of December. That's the next date for live radio.
I'm conscious of time, and I feel like we could talk about this topic for another hour, because it's super important. And we're all on this journey together. No one has the the answers where right now. But before we wrap up, if there is sort of a parting piece of advice you could give to everyone listening, what would that be? Even I know we don't have the answers, but if you were speaking to your peers and the thousands of people that are listening right now, kind of what would be the core message you want them to take away from this discussion? We'll start with yourself, Bart.
Well, for me, is finding that balance. That is for me really moving forward to take away between results-driven productivity, the hard figures. And let's be clear, they are extremely important. If we want to keep work, if we want to maintain that, we have to be productive, we have to deliver results. But we can only do that if we create a really modern and future-proof working environment. And there are so many more options moving forward than there were in the past. But personally, I believe it will also depend from business to business how you fill that out. But as long as we take the lead in filling that out as an HR or people function, I think that's the best thing we can do, both for the business and both for the people.
Fantastic. Helen?
I would say that this move towards consumer grade employee experience, differentiation, personalisation it used to be a differentiator, and I think it will be essential going forward, and that your culture of your organisation, including things like trust, are going to be essential to enable that, but also rethinking how we connect with people is going to be essential to enable it.
Amazing. Tara?
So I suppose my parting advice would be is just keep pushing for change. It's such an exciting time to work in HR. Yes, it's really, really challenging, but the changes that we're all making now and in the next couple of months are going to be the framework for the future of HR. And what a great time to work in HR. What a great time to be able to contribute to that. So keep pushing for change. There's going to be people who are resistant to that change. Keep pushing for change and stay curious. And, this is really, really exciting.
Amazing. Last but not least, Deepak.
Yes, exactly, because it's very important looking at all my colleagues, their own statement and the interpretation of the things today. I would say that we expect a lot from our people. And when we expect a lot from our people, it's important that we also listen to what do they say. Because it's very key when Tara talked about the productivity. I think productivity naturally comes if they are happy and engaged. So this is, and we will continue to do the productivity. And they all know the success of the company work is usually depend on how well do they contribute. So what I would say, my parting word will be that HR's agenda should be success with the people. We have to keep them engaged, and we have to keep them engaged with the journey of the company, and we listen to them, what are their choices, what they value, and we give it to them, and we prosper, all of us.